Welcome to the Genesis. I am Rabbi Josh. My guest this week is Eric Stern. If you're a longtime listener to the podcast, you may remember the episode that I did with Eric way back when. But that time it was really just a goal to get to know Eric as a musician and as a creative person, which he is. But this time I have Eric on because he is the person who is organizing the Portland Jewish Music Festival, which is coming up really, really soon. It's on from May 6th to May 17th. And that is the topic of conversation. So Eric is the Director of Programming and Cultural Arts Ambassador at the Eastside Jewish Commons. And he and I used the time together on this episode basically to go through some of the highlights. Over the course of the festival, there are local talents and talents from elsewhere, a range of performances and styles of Jewish music, and also workshops for musicians and all kinds of really, really wonderful things. So Eric is really here to talk about that during this episode. As he and I do, we sometimes wander off to broader topics and what music means and the experience of listening to music. But by and large, this is a chance for you to find out about this festival, which just keeps getting better and better every year under Eric's leadership and the EJC's leadership. So Art Lab is a co-sponsor for the Jewish Music Festival, and we would love for you to benefit from this thing. So after you hear the episode, go to the show notes, get your tickets right away, and I look forward to seeing you there. In the meantime, enjoy my conversation with Eric Stern about the Portland Jewish Music Festival. Eric Stern, welcome back to the Genesis podcast.
Oh, it's really great to be here again, Josh. And I'm from the offices of EJC. That's where I am right now. So really happy to be here.
Yeah. Last time you were on this podcast, we had a very far-ranging conversation. We probably also talked about the music festival, but we talked about you and as an artist and the EJC. We talked about all kinds of things. And this time I really want to give people a sense of what folks can look forward to. Anybody, anywhere could come to this thing. And certainly people, you're hoping that it'll draw people from outside of Portland. Do you expect that?
I do, and it's happened before. It's happened already at last year's festival, and we certainly have national and international artists coming. So it's worth it for people to drive from Eugene or Corvallis or Seattle or even Boise. So yeah.
So yeah, there's some real heavy hitters. I even hear that Eric Stern is going to be playing this year.
Very minimal. I do not try to center myself in any way. So I'm going to be playing some background Sephardic music at a Mother's Day event. But yeah, I'm not going to be. And I think one of the artists asked for a little sound support on the oud. So
okay. If people have not heard Eric Stern's fabulous music, you should take this as an opportunity to look it up. You can find it in streaming platforms. This is definitely an event worth. Certainly, it's a no-brainer. If you're in Portland, you should go check this out. It's, of course, we'll have this in the show notes as well, but it's May 6th to 17th, 2026. Tell us a little bit about the headliner, Yair Dalal.
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked. I was going to, in my head, I was like, if he doesn't ask about that, make sure you say, of course you're going to ask about the headliner. Yair Dalal is really the one of the foremost Mizrahi players, singers, carrier of a tradition.
First of all, tell people who might not know what Mizrahi means. And actually, probably a lot of people also don't know what the oud is, but that's easy. It's an awesome instrument. Oh, beautiful. Eric has an oud.
Tune or anything like that. Doesn't everybody have an oud at work? So when they take a break, they can play.
If they're Eric Stern, they do.
Yeah. This is a gourd-shaped instrument, and it's got 11 strings and no frets. That's the important thing to know. So Yair Dalal is one of the preeminent oud players. Mizrahi is just a description, and you're a rabbi and know about this stuff, so correct me if I'm wrong, but it's Jews who, it's a distinction from Sephardic because Sephardic Jews came from Spain. Mizrahi are the Jews that have been living in the Middle East from time memorial. That's my understanding.
Yeah, that's right.
So he came. He was born in Israel, but his parents came from Iraq, and so that was very much a part of his heritage. And then he delved into that, like many of us do. I believe, like in his 20s, he started thinking, like, well, what are my roots? And So he really explored that. He has gone and explored his desert roots as well, played with Bedouins and with to so his music, I would really describe it as very Bedouin adjacent, very Iraqi adjacent, whatever that may mean to you. He's of a certain age. He's, I think, 70 something. So I don't know how many tours he's going to make. I produced a show with him a few years ago in Portland, maybe about 10 years ago. And let me see, he lives near Sfat, and I visited him in Israel. And it's one of the, it was just a very old world thing, because I said, well, like when I get there, like, can I call you? What's your address? And he said, oh, just ask around.
Yeah, very Israel, very old world
Right.
maybe. But wait, so
Right.
did you go to visit him in the context of you being an oud player, or just because you had a relationship?
I already had a relationship with him. My first interaction with him was at a music camp years ago, like 20 years ago, and he taught oud and songs and stuff like that. So I knew him from there, but then I got to know him during the festival. He stayed, not the festival, the first time I produced him, he stayed at my house. So we had that relationship, and he convinced, my son was having a bar mitzvah, and we were going to go on a family trip to celebrate it, but not necessarily to Israel. We were just thinking, let's just have a family trip. We'll go to Greece. We'll go to, and he's like, if your son is having a bar mitzvah, you've got to come to Israel. So
Love that.
he convinced me. So my son got to see Israel for the first time. And so, yeah, so you go to Yair where he lives, and you roll down the window and like, do you know where Yair lives? And they laugh and they're like, yeah. And you get a bunch of arcane directions. And
Right.
then, so you just go until you meet the next person.
Right, right. Tell us what makes the Yair Dalal the great performer that he's renowned to be.
um,
Is it, like, is it his songwriting? Is it his playing? Is he like a particularly skilled player of oud?
yeah,
What
all
made it?
those things. But I think it's about that he's really made it a mission to preserve a certain kind of musical heritage. And this is this Iraqi style of playing. His family came, like I said, from Iraq, from Baghdad. And really his favorite place, he says, to be is in the desert. So when I had Rabbi Stone, when I produced his first concert, it was through the congregation Shir Tikva. So I had Stone introduce him, and she said something that's poetic, but I think apt. She was like, "This is the song, the ancient songs that come from the desert, and Yair is the bearer of those songs, and in a way, he is." So it's this powerful experience that I feel like happens in the best moments of the festival anyway, where you feel as part of the audience that you are connected to your heritage, that suddenly really when I mean, he's the big guns, right? He's played for Nobel Peace Prize concerts and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So like you feel like the barriers of time seriously are
Wow.
become fluid, and here are you here in this concert hall? Are you at Sinai? Feels like I'm overstating it, but that is the feeling I've
It,
gotten. Listen,
it really transports a person is what his music does, I think. And what I love about this is that it's a kind of Jewish music
yeah,
that has not been part of the mainstream for many years. People think of very often of klezmer music, which of course is magnificent, and we celebrate that as well. But a kind of European centric focus has really been the way that a lot of people are introduced to Jewish musical
that's
culture.
right.
And so to bring in somebody is who comes from brings a different tradition is so valuable. But what I really wanted to say about that is that my experience of some Mizrahi music is this: on the one hand, it feels very new and exciting to my
Mhm.
ears, but also
Yeah,
somehow very familiar.
yeah. Well, I think so much of Jewish music, it hasn't been until the modern era that we as Jews are, what was that saying, like in France or something about citizenship? Like you're a Jew at home, but then you're a citizen out in the world. That dichotomy has not existed. And one important thing is, I think, liturgy, and music, and the music of liturgy, well, liturgy is music, has been woven into our daily existence. So I think some of what you hear in any Jewish music that's like this is the echoes and the repetitions of liturgy. So I think it's embedded there because when we as Jews played music, even just in our daily lives, if there wasn't such a separation between liturgy and now we're playing with our friends, it
Right.
was just music. It was just the whole flow. So that might be something you're hearing as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really interesting. Right. The way that we've carved up Jewishness into these
Yeah.
separate compartments. I like that's a great insight. Okay, so there's Yair Dalal as the headliner. Let's talk about some of the other performers. There are some like top shelf musicians who are performing there who are from Portland. So tell me, I see several names on there, but tell me a little bit about Maeve Steer.
Yeah. I feel like Maeve Steer is I don't know, the hidden gem or the up and coming. She's a cabaret artist. And I first heard her playing accordion and singing opera at the same time, which is something I used to do in my
Yeah.
musical life. But if you can mix like Edith Piaf and some kind of Weimar Germany presentation, and along with spectacle and just pure musicality,
Yeah.
cabaret. Maeve Steer is it, and she's going to be on like a Tuesday night. So we're lucky to get her really at all. So that's someone that I think is like a sleeper that people might not know about her, but she's really, really special and just sweet music. And so that's somebody I'm thinking of for sure. That's really exciting
Oh
for
man,
me.
the
Right.
diversity of what is coming up in this festival is so exciting. Okay, and then friend of Art Lab, friend of the podcast, Alicia Joe Rabins and
Yeah.
Girls in Trouble.
Yeah, so that's her project. It was like a sort of midrash storytelling project, and bringing like the biblical the women in Torah to life, and it's music and poetry, and it's a band. It's like like electric guitar and bass and all that stuff. Yeah, Alicia Joe Rabins is a dynamo. I mean, if people don't know about her,
Yeah.
she's like a national treasure.
I also see Cantor Eyal Beton is going to be there as a presenting a lecture about music. Is that right?
That's right. It's not just concerts. There's a couple of workshops.
Yeah.
There's a lecture. There's a dance party. So that's a. I'm hoping people are dancing anyway to a lot of the stuff. And then Diane Chaplin, solo cellist, is going to be performing as well. So those are our local contingent. Although say that Yankel Falk, it's buried in there because he played a big role in the festival last year with his Carpathian Railroad. They played the last show of the festival last year.
Yeah.
We try to like skip for the next year, but he's going to be playing with Christina Crowder in her show. So that'll be really
Fabulous.
exciting.
And
Yeah.
Yankel is an upcoming guest on this podcast, so he's a wonderful guy and a fabulous musician. Is there stuff for people who are aspiring Jewish musicians to take away from this experience?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a couple of workshops. There's Chaya, who is a DJ, is going to do a workshop on Yiddish song. And then Christina Crowder, who runs the Kieselgoff Institute for Klezmer Music, which I can tell you about or not. She's giving a workshop on the inner secrets of klezmer dance tunes. So,
Wow.
yeah.
And it's targeted towards musicians or just
Yeah, I'm sure if you came, you'd get something out of it. But in general, I would imagine that it'd be good to have some facility on your instrument.
Wow.
Although, as I also think it's fine to just dive in if you're a beginner too, and you would learn a lot.
Yeah, wow, really exciting. Tell us a little bit about what you mean about Yiddish song, and then tell me about the Music Institute.
Well, yeah, okay. So there's two things. So Chaya is doing, and the title of the workshop is The Art of Unaccompanied Yiddish Folk Song. So that's a little bit different than if we want to get granular. Yiddish song is about, there's composed Yiddish songs, but then there's folk songs. So I think that there's probably a tradition. I don't know too much about it. You'll learn at the workshop, but that there's a tradition, as with many folk traditions, of just singing in your daily life. Singing was such a part of people's daily life.
Sure.
It's something we're very separated. So I think that's what that is. And Yeah, I think the only other thing I'd say about that is singing is very powerful and it's something that we are in general in this culture alienated from. So I think any kind of singing workshop is really exciting.
Wait, you talk to me about that cool idea. How are we alienated from singing?
If you look at ethnomusicology, you'll see that in cultures around the world, probably pre-industrialization, but maybe post-industrialization, when people get together and they're making I don't know what it would be, but some kind of cloth where you have to go like that, and they start going like that, and they sing the song about making the cloth, and it just comes up
Yeah,
spontaneously.
yeah.
And it's not something set aside where people are like, oh, I'm not a good singer. I don't, you talk to most people, they're like, you don't want to hear me sing. No, that's what
Yeah.
many people said. So that's what I mean when we're alienated from it. Like no one would say, I don't think, you don't want to hear me talk. But I think that's where we are with singing. Listen, this is I don't know how grounded in reality or scholarship this is, but my sense is that once we started also having recordings, and then you have pristine recordings, and you start comparing yourself to those recordings.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So where music comes out, it stops being just like something woven into life and becomes a
Mhm.
separate and distinct sphere, then there's something gained, but there's also really something lost. Like nobody would, just going back to what you were saying, nobody would say, oh, I'm really not good at hugging. It's like, no, that's just something people do.
Yeah.
And you're saying there are other social contexts historically and maybe geographically where it's just a natural part of life. So anyway, okay, that
Yeah,
helps
no,
for
and
me.
I just want to add that we as Jews, I think, get to have that a little bit more. We sing together at Pesach. There are ritual events where we sing, so we have it a little bit more. But I think it's something that's lost in modern day. Yeah,
Okay. So Eric, talk to me about this Yiddish Institute that you alluded to a moment ago.
yeah. The Klezmer Institute, which Christina Crowder, and she's doing the Inner Secrets workshop of dance and stuff like that.
Right.
That So the Klezmer Institute is under that aegis, and she's the executive director. And it's an institute for really Ashkenazic expression. It's in there. That's what it says on their website. But they have something called the Kieselgoff Archive, and what that is that the author of the Dybbuk, S. Ansky, back whenever he was around, I feel like it's the early 1900s. I'm not
Yes.
sure.
Yep. That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Okay. So he was also an ethnomusicologist, and he and others were sent out throughout Russia to transcribe the Jewish music and maybe other music as well. But so there was an archive, and then that archive either faded from view or was pushed away once with the rise of some anti-Semitic like Stalin or something. So this archive was rediscovered. So it's amazing because now that what the Kieselgoff does is it has digitized and continues to digitize the archive. So this is handwritten stuff. So they've got scholars there cleaning it up, putting it
Incredible.
on a PDF, and they're just sharing it with the world. But you don't have to sign up or you don't have to pay anything. They're sharing it with the world. So that's thing one in that it's new klezmer music that's not new, right? And the other thing about it is like when I used to think of klezmer, I thought of the klezmer. And some people have connection to klezmer, some people don't. The klezmer of my youth, which was the so-called and klezmer revival. I say so-called because people saying klezmer say they're playing klezmer say, "Well, I've played it." There's no revival. I've just played
Have
it.
never stopped. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just think of the klezmer conservatory and all these bands that were, and I think Harry Sapoznik went and talked to Dave Tsars, like these old klezmer players, and said like, "Hey, teach us." So
Yeah.
maybe a generation was skipped. So I know one of the klezmer players. Well, anyway, there's lots of stories, but that's what I think of. But that was a very American tradition of klezmer. And what's emerged more and more is that people are delving and into in geographically and saying, well, hey, klezmer also continued to happen in Europe. So not everybody migrated to America.
Sure. I see.
So there was a continuing tradition of klezmer in Europe. So this Kieselgoff stuff is rooted, it's more of the roots of that. So
Gosh, that's
so
so interesting.
it's fascinating, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I would imagine that the Americanized klezmer revival reflected inevitably those, the American context and the performing
Yes.
context and probably jazz influence and stuff like that. And so there's this whole other, the archive is bringing to life or preserving and offering as a resource this continual klezmer tradition elsewhere. That is just so great. God, what a gift for people like her doing this kind of Jewish cultural work. And then for places like the EJC and I dare I say Art Lab as well, doing work
Yes.
to like bring open doors to engagement with Jewish culture. It's just such a, I would hate for people to miss this opportunity to plug in
Yeah.
and to learn. What's been the evolution of the Portland Jewish Music Festival into and how did that help inform like what you guys wanted it to look like this year, what you were trying to get out of it? And then also, what's your hope in terms of what people who attend this thing or attend parts of it will walk away with?
Okay, yeah. It was started as the Klezmer Festival, and it was started by a member of our community, Sophie Enlow.
Yeah,
Who,
let's hear
you
it.
know,
Hands up and applause for Sophie Enlow, who's just a wonderful person. And sorry, I'll just say as an aside, her
yeah,
father is a
that's
Chazan,
right.
and
Yes.
I worked with him as a Chazan at Sherry Torah, wonderful guy. Sophie, beautifully talented musician, wonderful person, and gifted this community this klezmer festival.
Yeah, well, what I want to say is I feel like she did something grave, which is that she was part of an organization and is part of an organization in town, a local organization called Bubbaville, which it produces old-timey music gatherings and stuff, like old-timey American, like I got a pig, home and a pen, corn to feed 'em moan, that kind of music. People are playing
Love it.
banjo,
Yep.
stuff like that. Yeah. And she approached them. She is a fiddler herself and plays that kind of music. And she said, well, hey, well, I see that you're funding all sorts of things. Well, there is a Jewish old timey tradition as well. And I believe they said, well, what do you want to do? And that was brave, but this was the braver part. She said, well, I want to have a klezmer festival. So without, I don't think having produced anything like
Yeah.
that at all, from what I know. And she did so well the first year, and it was a klezmer. So it was a klezmer festival. It was over a weekend. I don't know if you were involved in it or not at that point. I don't
No,
know.
only as an admirer and an attendee.
Yeah, right. Well, no, and so then, yeah, the next time I think the pandemic was happening. But the third time she she it was getting a little bigger, and she asked to have it at EJC, but it was still her festival, and she asked Collab and EJC to help produce it and put it together. So we did, and then again, the brave thing, she knew that like when to quit, because she's like, that's really a lot to do. So she knew that EJC had infrastructure, and we had support networks and partnerships and some funding. And so she asked EJC and Collab to take it over. And you, Josh, you very generously, when that happened, you said, well, Eric, I think you know more about this in terms of the big vision. We're
Yeah,
like, well, just,
it felt natural given your background as a musician, etc. Yeah. Okay,
so that was that.
yeah.
So that was that the Klezmer festival, and then before last year, I thought, well, let's expand this, because I'm Jewish, and Portland Jewish music is not just klezmer, and why not expand it to a larger community? Why not? So I called it the Portland Jewish Music Festival, and I included Sephardic and Mizrahi music. And it was klezmer one weekend and Mizrahi Sephardic the next weekend. And it was just 2 weekends, very successful. And this is like, don't ding me if you're a musicologist. I understand that flamenco is not having anything to do with Jewish music, but we had like a flamenco fusion concert with Michelle Alani. So that was last year, and this year the idea was to expand the festival even further into more days, and to not necessarily have the separation of klezmer this week and Mizrahi
Yeah.
Sephardic the other week, but really to just put it all together. And I guess what I expect people, or what I hope that people will get out of it, is two things. They will realize the diversity of Jewish music and how Jewish music has been influenced by music around it, and how it has also influenced other music. And then what I hope people get is something even more esoteric. And it is because this happened to me last year, and I alluded to it when I talked about Yair Dalal. But when I heard Jacob Schulman Ment was headliner last year, and he is a violinist and a Yiddish singer, and he had the audience sing at one point a song in Yiddish, and it was just a couple words, and then yo 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 yo, and so suddenly in this dark, I'm Rabbi Josh, I'm not someone who goes to synagogue. It's not in my DNA, and I love that people go, and I know that people get it. It's my own flaw. It's not the synagogue, it's me. But I felt the closest to, I think, what some people feel in a synagogue in those moments when he had the whole room singing and he was leading. And again, I felt as if we were, I have felt this in synagogue. I'm wrong, because when we sang the Shema at the high holidays, when I was a kid, I had the record for Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And it's really weird music. And I remember being in a kid, you don't know. So I'm listening to it in the dark. The music's so weird. So anyway, there's this part in the record where there's a bunch of voices singing, but I did not understand that voices were separate in my young mind. So I was like, what is this creature singing? So I remember in synagogue, I felt that again. At high holidays, everybody was singing the Shema, and suddenly I know the text says we are one, but it really felt like, oh, there's that strange cohesive creature from my childhood that all the voices are cohering into one.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I felt seeing Jacob Schulman Ment, except that it felt like not just the voices of the present that were there, but the voices of the past.
Wow.
And what I hope, and it's a lot to expect, I hope people have a great time. I hope they connect with each other and their heritage, but I hope that they have a few transcendent moments as well, where they feel that they are, what are they transcending? Well, whatever they need to, but that we're not just in the present, but this is a part of a thread that extends back in time and is being carried forward by what we're doing now.
So beautiful. Yeah, gosh, what a beautiful meditation. What music can do and what music does. It's a beautiful way for people to feel connected. And honestly, man, do we need it in the
Right.
Jewish world and elsewhere? Do we need opportunities to connect with one another and to see our commonalities and to feel unified? I just want people to know, like right now, I'm looking at the website cpdx.org, which is your website, /PJMF, as in Portland Jewish Music Festival 26. And you can see the lineup. Is that the complete lineup, this list I'm looking at here?
There's a couple more that are still being added.
Okay, so I'll just read over it really quickly for folks who are not watching or I don't have access to a computer right now. But Yair Dalal, we talked about Dror Sinai, Alicia Joe Rabins, Girls in Trouble, Shpilkus, Yoni Batat, Ariel Lazarus, and Shir Ifra, DJ Chaya, Maeve Steyer, Christina Crowder and the Zamlers, Eyal Beton, that's Cantor Eyal Beton, Diane Chaplin, and the very awesome Eric Stern as well. So it is a full list, and you guys are doing such a wonderful service for the Portland Jewish community in offering this. Art Lab is very proud to co-sponsor along with Bubbaville Music.
Yep.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to say, yeah, you said that you EJC are doing a service. I feel like our sponsors are doing such a service. Yeah. And yeah, I'll call them out and you can call them out. I call Art Lab, Bubbaville, the Yiddish Book Center, Neva Shalom Congregation Ahavah Achim, and then the Portland Folk Music Society also has come along on this
That's
as well.
so
and
great.
yeah. So it's great to have that kind of support and that kind of backing for it.
Yeah, and it's worth underscoring what you just said. The Folk Music Society and Bubbaville, which you talked about a little bit, those are not Jewish organizations per se. So to have them jumping in along with these other wonderful Jewish organizations is just so wonderful and meaningful. And I'll just belabor it to say that the kind of work that Art Lab does, the kind of work that EJC does and Eric does, it's work. It takes work and resources to open doors to Jewish connection and to Jewish community and to Jewish culture, to give people the tools to explore Judaism on their own terms in their own way and to carry it around with them. And so when folks step forward and to support it in the way that so many organizations have here, it makes an enormous difference in the lives of the community.
I want to make sure we know that the Jewish music is music for everyone. So this is for the whole community. I mean, this is Jewish music, as I said before, influences other music, is influenced by other music, and it's porous and it is there for everybody. I want everybody to come.
If you're a person who loves music, this is the place to be, May 6th to 17th. 2026. I know I'll see you there. Eric Stern, thank you so much for your work and thanks for your time.
Thank you, Josh, for all the work that you do. It's great to be here. And I'll see you at the festival and everybody else listening.
Okay, man. All right.